All right, Bulls and Bears, we're back with another dose of economic reality. A lot of new recent developments to get caught up on today, including a prediction of a stock market crash of 80%. And it's someone you might have heard of that's making that prediction. We're going to talk about that here in this video. We also have another red day on the markets here, all indices in the red today. A lot of other things going on financially, economically. First of all, let's get started right here. This is the worst start to a stock market in presidential history. So there you go. That's breaking records, right? I'm sure that's not the kind of records they wanted to break, but we're breaking records, folks, with this stock market sell-off here in 2025. All right, people, so we've got financial turmoil being unleashed, and actually there's a lot of people out there, including many of you here on this channel, I've read your comments, that think this is all being done on purpose. All being done on purpose as a way to reset the financial system. I've heard that theory floated out there. Also as a way to entice the central bank to come in and lower interest rates, right? We've heard that theory as well. Also as a way to lower oil prices, because when the markets go down, so does the propping up of the oil price. Remember, it's not just supply and demand in oil. There's a lot of trading that goes on, keeping this market, in this case oil prices, propped up. Oil prices could fall to the $50 range by the end of the year for a couple of reasons. One is you have this drop in the markets, but two, you have a lot of people will pull back on traveling, and if their 401k drops, a lot of people, they don't want to take that vacation, they don't want to travel as much, and it's an overall drop in the economy too, because also you have a lot of layoffs. Right, a lot of layoffs. When the markets go down, when the big CEO, his market share gets chopped in half, or when his portfolio gets chopped in half, he's not going to be hiring people. He's going to be cutting costs and laying a lot of people off. And I should revise that, he or she. But here's what's going on with oil, folks. Look at this, $57. This has been a huge drop with the stock market decline. Right. So what does that tell you? Right, the stock market, oil as well, they're both very sensitive to economic conditions. And we're likely to see even lower prices going forward and lower on the stock market. On that topic, let's talk about this prediction here. People thought I had a negative outlook here, or a view that the economy was going down, or that the stock market's going down anyway. Remember, the stock market's not the economy. It is over 90% of stocks are owned just by the top 10%. I always remember that. The stock market is not the economy. But the people that are getting pummeled right now are mostly the working class, the middle class. Remember, the big money, the reason the market's going down is because the big money already got out. They already sold. They hit the sell button. Sell, 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 as Kramer would say. The ones holding the bag are the passive investors, the ones just idly sitting by, riding the markets up and down. Myself, I've been out of this market for a while. I've got a little bit still in a few stocks, but over 90% out compared to my usual, my usual position, if you will. But let's talk about this prediction here. 80% stock market decline. That seems beyond belief for most people. We're talking about worse than Great Depression type of numbers here if that were to happen. And who made that prediction? It is Mark Spitznagel. The stock market will go down by 80% when it's over, says bearish investor Mark Spitznagel. He believes we've entered the main event, and the recent stock market plunge is just a trap. So he thinks you're going to be catching a falling knife if you decide to go in this market right now. One of the most notoriously pessimistic and successful investors, Spitznagel, said the stock market plunge following this tariff rollout isn't the epic market crash that he's been calling for, but rather the turmoil along the way to the big event. Expect an 80% crash when this is over. I just don't think this is it. This is a trap, he wrote. So what he's saying is we may see the market go down and then look like it's recovering, and then we're going to see a double dip drop in the markets. 80%, what do you think about that, folks? I even think that's way beyond what I would have expected. I would have expected a floor to be put under this after maybe a 20 to 25% drop. That's typically kind of the zone where we see the invisible hand, the PPT, the plunge protectors, you know what I'm talking about. But I should add, there's speculation out there that team, the plunge protectors, the PPT, is no longer there, that they got laid off with the Doge cuts, right? I don't think that's happening, but there are people out there that are concerned about that. Maybe that's this investor that's predicting an 80% drop. Maybe that's what he thinks as well. But folks, think about it. I don't think they would fire or cut the agency that's responsible for keeping the stock market propped up, because in a couple of years, they're just going to they're just going to lose their jobs if the stock market crashes by 80%, because everybody's going to be wiped out. Anyone passively sitting in a 401k is going to be obliterated financially if you see an 80% stock market drop, right? I think this is awesome. I think this is excellent. This is a opportunity to buy cheap. This is a sale to me. Imagine walking into your favorite store. Everything is on sale. Everything's 25% off, maybe 50% off, maybe 80% off if you believe Mark Spitznagel. Everything's on sale, folks. That's what it's like if you're sitting mostly in cash, like Warren Buffett did last year. He went through his record cash position, right? We knew that the market was overvalued. We know that the housing market's overvalued, right? It's just a matter of what's going to trigger the sell-off and burst this bubble and bring on the decline, right? Buying opportunity as far as I'm concerned. Right? So when people say that I'm negative, that I'm bearish or doom and gloomish, it depends on what you're looking at. If you're sitting in stocks and watching your 401k portfolio and your wealth drop, then of course this is negative news for you. If you're someone that's expected it and is ready for it, like probably most of us here in this channel, this is good news. This is like a super sale. This is like a discount that, again, if you went into a store, everything was half off. Would you complain? Or would you be like, oh no, the jeans I wanted to buy, they're not worth as much anymore. Oh no. Or would you be like, okay, I'm going to save money now because I can buy things at a discount. All right, what else is happening? Well, crypto is also getting hammered. We've got Bitcoin down, as I'm reading this, down to 76,400. I don't know who would be buying over 100,000. Got over 100,000 for a while. I don't know who would have been buying at that time. There's always better times to buy, folks. If you're patient, there's always better times to buy anything, right? And it's difficult when it comes to a lot of things. A lot of people want a nicer house, and they're willing to go into tons of debt to get a house right now. I wouldn't be getting in there, but I know a lot of people that did. And some of them are making so much money, they're going to be fine. But if you're barely scraping by and you're like using all your savings right now to buy a house and getting the loan with no down payment and borrowing money for the down, all that stuff, I would be cautious right now, folks. I mean, we knew the downturn was going to happen. We didn't know that it was going to be tariffs that triggered it. But this is going to be what's kicking off, I think, the bigger, larger downturn, as that investor earlier that we talked about has also predicted. This is just the beginning, and it's a trap, because if you think that it's going to go up here just in a couple weeks and then keep going up, I think you're in for a longer, much deeper economic downturn situation here. All right, but we have people out there saying just the opposite, that there's not even going to be a recession. We've got somebody out of the current administration here, reported here out of the Hill. Navarro says, I guarantee no recession. So we've got a prediction of a collapse, 80% drop, to someone predicting no recession. I mean, how much opposing views can you have here on this? This is crazy. And basically, Navarro, he's out there. He's the senior trade advisor, saying everything's going to be fine, not even a recession. So maybe he knows that the plunge protection team there is sitting and waiting and is going to push this market to all-time highs again, just like we saw after the 2020 panic and then collapse. All right, folks, let's move into some real estate talk a little bit, the housing market, the housing bubble, if you will. And with this huge wealth gap, we still have the mega rich, the mega wealthy out there buying some insanely priced homes right now. And I want to look at this home in New York, and they're calling it a home. I would not want to live here, folks. Look at this and let me know if you'd want to live in this quadruplex penthouse high-rise atop the world's skinniest skyscraper. Let me bring this up here. And folks, take a look at this here. This is out of the sun, by the way. Overlooking Central Park, New York City. Look how skinny this thing is, right? I would not I would not even live there if they paid me. So not only would I not pay for an apartment there, I would not live there if they paid me to live there. Now I'm scared of heights, right? So that could just be me. But would you want to be up there? I mean, this thing is just begging to be hit by an airplane. I mean, look at this. This is insane, folks. 360-degree view of Central Park. Well, that's nice. And look at this. It's 4 floors. Look how skinny this is. 4 floors of this penthouse. You're looking at them right there. Right? The life of luxury. Look at that. One of those deep bathtubs. A pool. Apartment has an 82-foot swimming pool. And you're so high up there. Look at this. Folks, it's clouds. You're looking out at the top of the clouds, right? I mean, I would probably pass out with my fear of heights here. And I'm not even sure if I would even go visit one of these upper floor apartments at this place. This is going to be the tallest residential building in the world, as far as this article says here. I wouldn't even go there if I was invited there for a party. I mean, maybe if you gave me a few drinks, I would go up the elevator. How long is that elevator ride? That's got to be at least a 15-minute ride just up the elevator. No way, folks. Let me know. Would you want to live there? Would you even visit there or go to a party there? Let me know down in comments. Am I just paranoid or what? On the flip side, look at this. A granny flat for $12,000 that you can get on Amazon. That's more my speed right there. Look at that. Pretty nice, right? Granny flats off Amazon. Don't let your grandparents go to the nursing home, folks. Get them a granny flat. Put them in the backyard. Look at this. $9,300 for this. Yeah, that's a good price. How much money can you save not having to pay a nursing home bill every month? Put your granny in the backyard. And what about grandpa? Why are they calling it a granny flat? Nobody cares about grandpa. It's not a grandpa flat. It's only granny. Doesn't seem fair, does it? All right, moving on here, folks. Back to the situation at hand and the current economic, showdown. You want to call it trade war. 104% tariffs against China right now with the back and forth. The retaliatory tariffs. Folks, look at this. 104% tariffs. So basically doubling prices is what's going to be happening here if something is not worked out. And they're basically saying a deal is not likely to be struck here before these 104% tariffs actually go into effect. That's crazy, people. All right, but I want you to think about this. I want you to sit back and kind of analyze this as far as this panic, this fear, this market sell-off because of tariffs, right? So tariffs, what's the concern about tariffs? The consumers are going to have to pay more for goods and merchandise. Things are going to cost more. The cost of living is going to go up. Or where was the panic in the stock market over the past 4 years when home prices went up 30, 40, 50, 60%? Where was the panic in the stock market when the cost of living went up so much, right? Everything from car prices up 30, 40, 50, 60%. Cost of living up way beyond what they really admitted with the CPI number, or the Consumer Price Index, right? Way higher than that. Where was the panic in the stock market then? So why is it only when tariffs are the cause of the high cost of living that the market panics? I want you to ask yourself that question, and we'll get to the answer here in a little bit. Right? But when it comes to these wild market swings, a lot of it is circuit breakers that get triggered, algorithmic trading and bot trading, auto trading, right? Take a look at this. Wild stock swings magnified by headline bots. These are bots that analyze the news that's out there, just the headlines, and based on the headlines that it reads, it triggers either sell or buy in the stock market. How crazy is that? So it's reading the headlines and deciding to buy or sell, folks. That's insane if you ask me. That's out of Bloomberg. And also, if things weren't bad enough, folks, could be good too, depending on how you look at it. I think things are good right now. Again, things are on sale, but some people think it's bad. But look at this. Danger. War between the U.S. and Iran has never been closer. And that's the ex-UK ambassador putting out that warning. So we've heard this for years. We've heard that war is right around the corner. Tensions are up. So this guy, he looks pretty stressed out. I thought I looked stressed out. He looks like sleep deprived and stressed out. So he's giving an urgent warning out there. So there you go. Prepare for war, people. Prepare for 80% correction and crash in the stock market. And what other good news can I get into with you today? Well, stay tuned. I got a couple more things to get into here. All right, folks, a little bit more on the housing market. We see these tariffs being placed on Canada, which we get a lot of our lumber in there. I've seen estimates for certain types of lumber up to 80% overall. I think it's about 20 to 30% total. But these tariffs are sending shockwaves through the home builders here. Look at Lennar, and look at this drop here year to date. Went from here, a peak of about 143 down to 106. If you look at a 1 year chart, we're basically way down. We're down 32% on a 1 year chart. Still up on a 5 year chart, but yeah, pummeled in the past year if you jumped into that stock. DR Horton, let's take a look here. Year to date, we're down 23%. Or no, this is 1 year down 23%. Year to date down 12%. So these stocks getting hammered, people. And I wouldn't have bought in this chart anyways. Sorry, I didn't have the chart up. Here's, let me go back. Lennar Homes. Here's the 1 year chart. And here's year to date. DR Horton. Look at this. I would not have bought during this spike right here. But people jumped into the stock. They thought the home market was unfailable, that it was just going to continue to rise, even though this price had shot up just in the past few years. Go back to 2022 and went from 67 up to 100 and now over $190. It tripled, and people were still jumping into the stock, folks. It's unbelievable. And now they're paying the price, folks, down to 115. Home builders, look out below, folks, because overvaluation combined with now the shock of these tariffs. Let me know what you think down in the comments about all this, folks. Would you be in that nice penthouse up above the clouds in New York? What do you think about the call for the 80% plunge in the stock market? Is that too extreme? That's even more extreme than I predicted here. Also, what's going on with these protests? I had some people in my last video were upset with me because I didn't say that these people were all paid to be there. You think they paid that many people to be there? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, because what people will do for political power to make the other side look bad. But that's, folks, that's a lot of people. There's seriously people that are upset about what's going on, paid or not paid. I have people in my family that are upset about what's going on. I have a in-law that works for the New York Fed, and she's terrified of being laid off because of all the cuts happening right now, right? So I know people that are affected by this, and they're not being paid to be upset. They're actually really upset. Now, maybe there's people that are paid, but there's people out there that are really upset. People are losing their jobs. People are seeing their 401ks get obliterated. All right. Again, hopefully nobody here on this channel, because we saw this coming. People were making fun of me, right? Last fall when I said things are about ready to get crazy. I had people making fun of me. They said, this guy's doom and gloom. He's a fearmonger. He's been predicting a crash for 10 years. He puts out the same video. I have people tell me I put out the same video for 5 years. Who would watch? I would have 0 viewers if I put out the same video for 5 years. Probably wouldn't even have a channel, because YouTube wouldn't even allow that. Folks, it's new news every time. There's no same video over and over, folks. New news comes out all the time. We're on top of it here for you. We're sitting pretty right now. If you've been paying attention, we're sitting pretty. Big buying opportunities down the road in the stock market and in the housing market, folks. This thing's going to become so big, you're not going to believe where this is going to go in 2025. We're going to talk more about that in our next report. Please make sure you're subscribed. Right here is the button, right below my finger. Keep this channel alive. Keep us operational, folks. And hopefully we'll chat with you down in comments. As always, everybody, keep stacking. Talk to you soon. Big love. Bye for now. Peace.